podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We're here, Ed. We've done it. We've made it to the end of the season. And that's something to be grateful for. So, you know.
It is.
It was 61 games long. 0 trophies won. 1 second place finish achieved in the league.
Yeah. 61 games last season as well. So, nice.
That's why I'm exhausted.
Also 0 trophies.
Like 4 weeks in between the two seasons. 2 61-game seasons. I guess we had a break in the middle of last season.
You do realise you didn't do any of the running here. So you just had to watch them do it.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder what's more exhausting, playing for Man United or having to think about them?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I imagine the playing bit, physically, although they can be draining. I mean, the Europa League final, that being the last game of the season, is particularly, if it hadn't been that bad, and it was really bad, I wonder whether the recency bias might kick in and, United beat whoever on the last day of the season, Wolves, and not bad. But then came that. They turned out one of the most pathetic games in the final one, the most important one. But I poked up in the last. It was bad.
Yeah, I think it was bad. I think it was really bad. I don't think it was pathetic though, because I think pathetic is when it looks like they're not trying in a way. They were really trying really hard.
Okay, maybe frame it as it was really bad and they were very tired, and then the manager's performance was, I think, pathetic.
Yeah.
For the manager.
I've been thinking about this a lot because we recorded it literally on full time, so it was, it was all totally fresh. I don't know if I said this, but I think this is something, that's a game that if he's humble enough, Solskjaer can learn a huge amount from in terms of what he has to do to grow as a manager. Because I think you can, we know that culturally he's doing something that hasn't been done for a long time, that's been needed to be done for a really long time. And it's working to an extent culturally. The atmosphere around the club's changed. The team spirit's clearly there. Got rid of some players. There's an energy to United. There's youth all over the shop, all that stuff. Great. But clearly he has these real limitations. And in this game, he did his Fergie impression in the starting 11. He went big. He rolled the dice and gambled. But that's not his instinct. It is Fergie's instinct. It's not his instinct. And you saw that as the game went on, and it was incumbent on him to make such a huge decision to move away from his plan A, which we know could have suddenly clicked and started working at any time, to roll the dice to a plan B. But he couldn't bring himself to step away from it. He froze. And he almost looked like that on the touchline, that he'd frozen, and that's something you can learn from. You can do some work on why was it that when it came down to it, I wasn't able to make the big gamble. If he wants to become a manager who does make the big gamble in that situation at some point, which I do think would improve him a lot.
Yes, I mean, you're zooming out a little bit there, which I think is the right thing to do, and. The whole season isn't framed by that performance and result against Villarreal, although I think it will shape a lot of the discussion, both over the summer and, as you can see, has already happened and going into next season. And it allows us to have a think about, what is the real Manchester United? So looking at the nominations for the top 20 goals this season, missing one, one, missing a very important goal, and then which we'll get onto in a bit, and then just you look at the quality that United can produce. and it's outstanding. There's some truly outstanding goals there, individual skills and team stuff, and and you think, okay, you can build on some of that, but you dig into the fundamental stats behind United's season. It's the fourth best defence in terms of expected, and the fourth best attack in terms of expected, both goals and goals against. And the fourth best expected points, right? So, and then you just dig further into that, and actually some of United's fundamentals don't look very good. And of course there was like kind of wild swings in performances in the season, and I think a lot of that is to do with, the quality we have beyond the first 11. There's a big drop off, and I think it's bigger than perhaps some of our rivals. Discounting Manchester City because they can go to 30 players and there not be much drop off. And Solskjaer's lack of trust in them as a result, and so clearly there's an awful lot of players who've played in like mid-50s games, and clearly there's some burnout as a result, and I think that does impact. And then you got a bunch of other caveats like they had no preseason, well they had one preseason game, so it's going to take them 5 or 6 games, and funnily enough they lost 3 of their first 6 games, and then the burnout towards the end also meant another couple of defeats. And you can kind of create some fair caveats, and you can create a story that says, hey, there's something to build on here and we can go forward. Then I look at the underlying data for United and some of the rivals, and I could also build a story to say, it's going to be very difficult for Solskjaer to even match what has happened this season. And for him to do that, it might mean the club needs to go forward. But anyway, that's that's for later. I just mean that so United's numbers, both in terms of expected points, expected goals against, expected goals for, number of shots, and some of the build-up numbers aren't as good as the actual data.
Oh yeah, no,
right? So we outperform
that
quite a lot.
Yeah, no, I got that. What I mean is, what did you mean by the just a little bit at the end about like? Are you saying that you don't think it's particularly likely that you? Or
that's
that you
not true of Chelsea and Liverpool, for example.
Yeah.
So all things being equal, or if there's some kind of regression to the mean, then you'd expect Chelsea and Liverpool to do better than United next season. And so I think that's kind of, when we think about going forward, that's actually the base. It's a truer base than, and people, you can mock this. One could mock this. It's almost a truer base than United finished second. Therefore, we're progressing from last season's third. We are, but you dig in and it doesn't always look quite as pretty as that.
But I guess this is not something we have to move on from, because this is the end of season review, and that inherently is about analysing where we are in relation to where we were last season and what we look to do moving forward. I mean, I haven't compared the underlying data this season to the underlying data last season, but I almost think the more interesting thing isn't how are we doing versus our expected performance this season, it's how does our expected performance this season compare with last season, and is there an improvement there? Because last season we overperformed all sorts of metrics right at the back end of the season to kind of jammy our way into third place with some, basically the only good football we played was after January, and the only really good football we played was after Project Restart,
Yeah, I did actually look at this. It's kind of funny. So 64 expected points this season and 74 actual points. And last season it was 66 actual points and 70 expected points.
Right,
so underperformed on the points. And it's quite a wild swing as a result. And of course, I think it's so hard, comparing season to season, because there's so many, dynamics involved there, including the performance of other clubs.
Yeah.
Because, you always have to play somebody else, don't you?
I mean, I do think of all the kind of underlying metrics, expected points is one of the worst, because I think expected goals are an incredibly valuable data point for working out what's really going on with the team. Like, for example, Brighton, we've joked about it on the Backers content all season. Brighton would have had to have such a catastrophic end of the season for them not to be completely safe by the end of the season when it looked dodgy whether they'd make it or not. And that was about their expected goals. And expected points tends to be, it looks at the expected goals scored and conceded. just game state plays so much into these things, and
Yeah, sure.
it's such a like looking at, because expected points relies on expected goals working in one game, which it doesn't.
Yes.
Like, and that's so I think it's a slightly dodgy metric in that sense. But having said that, I think that qualitatively, watching United this season has been a very different experience than it's been for a really long time. And inherently, this is a team that you would almost expect to do better than its underlying numbers, because the quality of finishers, like goal scorers, is, I mean, that goal of the season compilation, this has got to be our best goal of the season compilation for quite some time, I guess. And last season, actually.
I think that's very true. And you can make an argument there to say, well, yes, absolutely, United could continue to outperform expected goals as a result, because of the individual quality. And maybe even, continue, increase that if Solskjaer was able to coach any kind of attacking patterns of play other than goals scored on the transition, which he hasn't yet done in 2.5 years as a coach. But we'll see, there's time still.
There's another 3 years, United, right?
Yeah, that's right. Who only signs that contract, yeah. We'll talk about some of that, I think, with the players when we think about how United might evolve. But that would point to sorting out the defensive part of United's game, which isn't just defenders; it's the double pivot in midfield as being the really key one this season. So when United spunk 150 million on Harry Kane to solve a problem that doesn't really exist, then we'll know they're really using that team of analysts hard, won't we?
I mean,
anyway,
the fact that that's sort of vaguely possible at this stage is, I mean, it's just awful. I know that, when we signed Cavani, I was really annoyed, and this season would have been a lot worse if we hadn't signed Cavani. And
for sure. Yeah.
I guess next season will be better if United sign Harry Kane than if they didn't. They don't do any other business. You just sign Harry Kane or not. Well, yeah, But an actually good transfer window, and now we're really talking. I mean, the position of the rival clubs is very interesting. You'd imagine if so long as Klopp manages to get a proper rest this summer and isn't burning out himself, which the end of the season would suggest probably isn't, because he got a team that was really on the brink of something pretty disastrous and engineered a very substantial winning run at the end of the season. Tuchel's just won the flipping Champions League with Chelsea, a squad that we said at the beginning of the season preview, they'd signed really well in the summer and really significantly improved and bought a load of players that United could have done with in one way or another. And that hasn't totally been the case, but Tuchel's definitely got them, in a much better situation, let's say. And I think some of their league results at the end of the season are offset by the Champions League being on the horizon. And indeed, some of United's there's 2 losses at the end of the season that United had that are just literally because we had the Europa League final coming up, so we could lose that. But you'd expect both of them to be better than they were this season overall next season.
Yeah.
And City you would expect to be probably better than they were this season in the league, because the first half of the season they struggled a little bit. They had no pre-season and struggled to get going, and
it's very true. I mean, it will be interesting with Guardiola and City, what they do business wise. So you'd imagine well, they always spend the GDP of a small state because that's exactly how they got where they are, but you'd imagine they'd be quite willing to do that this summer, and whether they sign a forward or not will be interesting, because they played much of the second half of the season with no forward, culminating in that really quite funny Champions League final in which they played 6 attacking midfielders, no defensive midfielders and no forwards. Good work, Pep, good work. Yes, anyway, I mean, I do think that's fair context to set both United's performance this season, the varying struggles of Chelsea and Liverpool, and the challenges United might face going into next season. Anyway, I don't know. Is that we haven't really talked sort of month to month United's performance, but I do kind of think that in broad swathes that kind of sets out the context for the whole season as a whole. I mean,
Yeah.
should we talk about each of the competitions? Second in the Premier League,
Yeah.
Thumbs up. There was never a title challenge there, but
there was.
Best of the rest.
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
beautiful
top of the league.
weeks.
Yeah, and it did fall away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether anyone was really super surprised by that. I don't think we actually thought we were best in the league. Although maybe we should listen back to some pods around January time. And
I had a little twinkle in me. I had a little dream.
Yeah. Quarterfinals, the FA Cup, beaten pretty easily by Leicester.
Yeah.
Disappointing on that one. One of those big games where United didn't really turn up. Lost in the semi-final of the what's it called these days? I always forget. Carabao Cup, League Cup, the Milk Cup.
I just remember it's Carabao because a City fan friend of mine put on Instagram, the Drake meme of him looking at he's turning away from the Champions League and pointing at a crate of Carabao that's what I really like.
So semi-finals there, well beaten by City. In terms of performances over those 2 legs, okay. And then, dumped out of the Champions League. Hugely disappointing that was.
That was awful.
Given the quality of teams who were playing, especially that tie with Istanbul away.
I mean, the thing about that is we'd have been knocked out of the Champions League. Maybe, as soon as we played someone decent, we probably would have lost right in the Champions League. I think. Maybe not. I mean, this is a weird team. It's a weird team to say a thing like that about because, if we properly turned up against Villarreal, we'd have destroyed them. They could, if we'd had 3 of our 5 attacking players on song in that game, it'd have been all over. So I'm saying we'd have got destroyed in the Champions League in the knockout stages, but probably can't actually really say that. But it was still hugely disappointing to go out the way we did.
Yeah, and who knows who United would have played. Leipzig played Liverpool, of course, and I don't think that could have been a draw.
No, right, yeah.
In the round 16. But, there's clearly, given the other teams who played in the Europa League, and there was one great half against Roma, wasn't there? And 3 not great halves. Milan won very good half away from home. So, I don't know. United are not in the top sort of 10 best teams in Europe. Progress needs to be made there. Some of that's coach, some of that's players. We'll see. We'll obviously be in the group stage of the Champions League next season, and we'll see where we got to. But that was really disappointing. And then Europa League run was fun until it wasn't fun. I think everyone should be disappointed about that, and everyone should look at the mistakes made in that and ask some bigger questions about what it means for sure. So, what do you rating season as a whole? What do you think the number is out of 10?
So hard, because I feel like this kind of goes back to the first conversation, and you're completely accurate in my opinion. Point that we actually don't know where United are, and if you'd said to me at the end of last season we're going to finish second in the league this season, I'd have gone, well, that's amazing. That's and we're going to have a bunch of fun on the way. And one of the reasons there won't be a title charge is because we lost a bunch of games. We were kind of out of it before it even really started because we didn't have a preseason. All of that stuff, that's amazing. And by the way, semi-final, final, and quarter-final in the cups, which is sort of empirically good, right? Empirically, that means that we progressed through many rounds of many cup competitions. I mean, it's a bit weird with Europa because you get into it by failing. So we beat 3 teams in the Europa League. But, we had to win a lot of games to get... Even in the FA Cup, we had that fantastic, I think, 4th round game against Liverpool. Which was where we won 3-2. It was maybe the most fun game of the season. That's got the Mason Greenwood goal in it, right? The one where he does the little wave. I think that's from that game.
Yes. Right, yes.
But anyway, that is all a long-winded way of saying I don't know. I don't know what I think. I'm torn between, because you see the argument presented in kind of we were having a row about politics before the show even row is absolutely not the right word. We were having a discussion where we broadly disagree about some stuff about politics.
I mean, your love of Boris Johnson shocks me, I've got to say.
But you know, the whole mission of this show is to demonstrate that it's possible to have some nuance and hold two thoughts in your head at the same time, right? We talk about it all the time. I have seen extremely coherent arguments that actually United are sort of a disaster at the moment, and extremely coherent arguments that United are doing. I mean, we're clearly doing better than we've been doing at any point in the post-Ferguson era, except Mourinho, who he's my least favourite manager in the world, did win a bunch of trophies at United,
Yes. Well,
rubbish ones,
yes.
But
yes, he won all the rubbish ones. Yeah,
both. In fact, he won 2, so I don't know why I said a bunch, but and finished second in the league. But it was a rubbish second.
It was a rubbish second, but his greatest ever achievement, 81 points, is comfortably the biggest number of points that United have had post Fergie. So,
but it's better now, right?
We'll give him that. It's better now. The football is better now, but it's not consistent.
No.
But it reaches higher highs for sure than under Mourinho, and I wouldn't for a moment, not least because of my inbuilt extreme biases, which I don't hide at all. But I wouldn't for a moment try and pretend that football was ever good under Jose. Won a lot of games though, and there was that period where 4-0 FC emerged.
As 6 games at the beginning of that season, right?
That's about it. So, there's more entertainment now, and that's what football's about.
Yeah.
And I guess what we want to do is on some winning, don't we? And winning shiny pots that we can hold up and mock friends on Twitter about, that kind of thing. That's what winning trophies is for, isn't it?
What's weird is United are they are a cup team in a lot of ways, except they can't win any cups, which is quite a bad thing for a cup team. They're not a league team, right? But so the grade that you give United overall for the season has to be if you compare it to the last 20 years, it's a C. If it's reasonably generous, probably to give it a C. But also, comparing it to the last 20 years is just silly because, I don't keep saying the last 20 years, but it's been 8 since we last won the league. So, that's almost half of that time we've been rubbish for. I mean, if you compare it to the last 8 years alone, this is a A+++ season compared to what's been. I guess not. I guess it would be a good B+, but, we're too spoiled to possibly give it a good B+, I think. To me, a C seems simultaneously harsh and fair. I don't know. I'm confused.
C, 6 out of 10. I mean, it's hard to call it more than that because ultimately he didn't win anything. Just didn't. And, but for a few...
We finished above, we finished above everyone except for the petrochemical league destroyers, the kind of the unsporting kind of financially doped. It's we basically won the Tour de France, except Lance Armstrong actually got given it, but we really won it, because he was whatever.
This is true.
I'm talking, just to be clear, just for Manchester City's lawyers, I'm only talking about the way that money has been spent, just to be clear. That's the comparison with Lance Armstrong was not meant to be
I think
chemical.
It's all those newspaper reports out there linking Pep with Dr. Fuentes. I mean, totally unfair.
No.
I mean, if you were to Google Dr. Fuentes, Pep, and any of the shenanigans that particular fellow got up to, and you would conclude that any of Pep's teams were doped, it would be really, really unfair. But some people have done that, and it's very wrong of them. Don't do that. Anyway, no, I take your point. It's fair to say United have been the best of the rest, and that's it's not a very nuanced picture to say that, and that's why I added a bunch of caveats. But it starts to sound like getting a bit negative if you add those caveats. Second is not bad. It's not bad.
It's like it's too nuanced. If you 6 out of 10, I think is too
Okay, so it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
season.
that I'm not going to argue. But I mean, that feels a little generous. But 7 out of 10. I feel like it seems more fair to give these players 7 out of 10 for kind of both effort and, I mean, certainly like effort. They're all getting 10 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned. Like there's been no lack of, you've never got the feeling that this team don't care or aren't fighting with every fibre of their being. I mean, Marcus Rashford has played half the season completely broken, with disastrous consequences on his numbers. But yeah, I don't know. Somewhere between 6 and 7 out of 10 feels fair. 6.8 out of 10. A 68% season. There you go.
Let's talk about some of the players, shall we? Or do you want to go goals first or players first?
Well, I tell you what, let's do players first and end. Goals is the most fun, so we can end on that. But we do every year on this show for many, many years. We've given out an award for each position on the pitch. I don't mean each position, but like defender, midfielder, and attacker of the season. This season, we have to decide on who the goalkeeper of the season is, which is not actually particularly easy. Neither of them are very good.
Yeah. I put together some of the data. I got the games wrong, actually, when I was looking at it. So De Gea's played 36 games this season, Henderson 26, which will give you an idea of the workload.
It's a lot, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, he's played a surprising amount. I mean, I guess he played quite a few Europa ties before they switched the cup goalkeeper and the.
That's like 4 or 6 at the most.
Right. So yeah, I mean, Henderson's got a good run there. I mean, it's enough games for us to form some knee-jerk opinions about him. The interesting thing is, sorry for the bunch of acronyms, but his post-shot expected goals against, which is to say a measure of the quality of the shot and whether he should have saved it versus the average keeper, is 0.0. So he is dead on average.
Now, what's Henderson?
Dave, I mean, it shocked me, actually, because just in, like, I was like, well, he obviously lost his place, but there were some circumstances there. I don't feel like he had a season that was quite as bad as some of the other seasons he's had. But then look at that, it's minus 8.4, right? So to explain that, in those 36 games, that's all competitions, by the way, he has let in 8.4 goals, more than the average goalkeeper would be expected to have.
Based on the quality,
let in, and based on the quality of the shot.
Exactly. So this is post-shot XG, which is different from the XG that we normally talk about, which is measured by kind of type of chance and positional data and all that kind of stuff. This is after the ball comes off the boot, how, on average, how likely is this to go in? For De Gea's to be so spectacularly low, I mean, that is him chucking it in the net every 5 minutes, isn't it?
I mean, it's dreadful numbers. It's truly dreadful. He is letting in nearly a quarter of a goal a game he plays in, more than the average keeper.
Yeah.
So that's not even benchmarking against the better keepers in the league. I mean, it's if you just look at the league, he's made one error leading to a goal, which is just, you'd like, oh, okay, well, any keeper could make that. Alisson's made 3, and he's probably one of the better ones. But
he had a rough season for a big stretch of it this season, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So I mean, it's just, I mean, like, you hope if United try and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try and sell one of their keepers this summer. If United try and sell one of De Gea or Henderson, you hope that whoever they try and sell De Gea to doesn't look at any numbers.
The thing is, what's really bad about it, because, De Gea's entire shtick is a very disrespectful way of describing one of the most extraordinary human athletes, like the most extraordinary physiological feats any humans ever pulled off in terms of what De Gea was at his prime. But his whole thing is making brilliant saves that nobody else would make. And now he's like letting in goals nobody else would let in. And he definitely hasn't got any better at any of the other stuff, has he? So,
Oh, no, for sure. And just one comparative metric. Henderson claims twice as many crosses as they're both quite low numbers, although they always are low numbers because it's all crosses of all types, and you wouldn't expect keepers to come for many of them, but twice as many.
One of the things that I was having a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine who's just played at a low level in goal for a really long time. And, he's a pretty good goalkeeper, but he plays like Sunday League or whatever. But he was saying that one of the reasons that Henderson has to be good at all those things is because he's just not a very good shot stopper, not a very good shot stopper. He's fine, but he's not. There's nothing exceptional about his shot stopping. So he's got to kind of do the shouting and the coming out and the quick releases of the ball. I mean, I think if we have a choice next season, say you give me the choice right now, which one of these people do you want in goal all of next season? I'm choosing Henderson, but really I would like secret option number 3, please.
Yeah, genuine Luigi Donnarumma.
Exactly.
He's out of contract. He is a Mino Raiola client. But he is on a free. It wouldn't surprise me at all, but then United's problem is how to ship out all these keepers. Because it looks like they're bringing Tom Heaton in as a third choice. Yeah. Because Lee Grant's out of contract, and so is Romero, and Shum Pereira will move on too, which would leave just Nathan Bishop, who's never played a game for United. So that's what, like, Heaton could come in the third choice, and he might never play a game for United. We'll see about that one, but it seems unsustainable. Henderson may get better. He may do.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
This was his third, I'm going to say full season in pro football, but, it's sort of a full season. So he may well get better, and that's true. I look at him, and I'm not sure that the ceiling is elite. His numbers certainly don't show that, but De Gea's is just massive decline. And so it would make a lot of sense to ship out a player who earns that much money, if only for squad management purposes. Having that guy on the bench all season, playing 20 games next season, just doesn't make any sense. But United will have to pay someone to take him.
Yeah. So which one of these two which one of these two's been a better goalkeeper for Man United this season?
Well, I think it's Henderson.
Yeah, I think so too. Well done.
But it's like a 6 out of 10 versus a 5 out of 10 or something like that, or maybe even worse for De Gea. I mean, I gave him the 5 out of 10, like eyeballing it before I started looking at the numbers, so it's probably more like a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh. And I just think that structurally United can't take another season of De Gea because of the problems of defence. It's like, we're playing this double pivot in front of them to protect these defenders, but really a lot of the problem is also happening behind them because he's just such a terrible fit for a Lindelof and Maguire central defensive pairing. You need, Schmeichel, even go like Kasper Schmeichel, right? Not actual, Shanta Schmeichel. You don't need the actual Peter Schmeichel. You need that model of keeper.
I mean, the actual Peter Schmeichel would be going absolutely mad at some of the people in front of him.
I mean, he would just straight up deck Victor Lindelof in the middle of a game, right? At some point this season, that would have happened.
Who Scored gave Dave 3.58 out of 10. That's the for the Europa League final. That is the algo freaking out about the number of penalties he let in.
Yeah.
Which a lot of data going around just as a sidebar about that afterwards. I mean, we talked a bit about his record saving penalties, 11 out of 64 sort of normal time penalties he's saved. But he's let in, including penalty shootouts in all formats, the last 40 penalties he's faced. Every single one of them. I mean, if he just stood still, he'd have saved, on average, 24% get saved. But he just stood still. A couple of them would have hit his face, surely.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but that is 40 in a row is bad. And Solskjaer just straight up should have put Henderson on for the penalties. Like, he just should have done it. But anyway.
Shall we talk about some of the defenders then?
Yeah, let's. I mean, I think it's not going to be a mystery which of the defenders is going to win this category for the award. I don't think there's any suspense there, given that one of them literally won Players' Player of the Year in a team that has Bruno Fernandes and Edison Cavani. And, like Luke Shaw was if not I mean, he was the biggest surprise of the season. He was the most pleasant surprise of the season. He was by far the most improved. He was, a genuine joy to watch for swathes of the second 2/3 of the season, basically. So yeah, Luke Shaw is easily the kind of winner of this category. But yeah, let's talk about why Victor Lindelof is the worst player that's played for Man United since, I don't know, Bebe.
I mean, talking a little bit about Shaw, comparing him and Wan-Bissaka is kind of it's really funny. We talked about it on the pod 3 or 4 weeks ago, didn't we? When we were talking about their percentiles in each thing, but it's borne out. I mean, 80 shot creating actions from Shaw this season. So that's a pass, a foul on him, or a cross, anything that he's done that has then created a shot. 80, which is really good number. It's a really good number.
Yeah.
But he's a bit more passive on all these sort of defensive metrics, and Wan-Bissaka is just the other way round.
Yeah.
Just insane numbers, 134 tackles. It's miles more than anyone else in the United squad. A huge number. Doesn't create anything at all.
So when we were growing up, right, slide tackling was one of the main ways that players got the ball off each other. Like the football video games now, slide tackle is like one of the first buttons you want to learn when you play a football video game. But I guess now it's probably like not at all, unless you're Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who has just never moved away from the slide tackle button being a really important way of getting the ball off the opponent.
Because for most players, it's a really dangerous thing, because if you mistime it, you risk a red card.
Yeah.
So he's one of the few. He's old school. Loves a tackle, does Aaron. And he's had a good season. I'm not sure I don't know how much he progressed on the offensive side of things that, we talked about until we got bored of ourselves last season. But 6 assists across all competitions this season.
Not bad.
It's the same number as Luke Shaw, so it's not bad. He just, underneath that, he doesn't create nearly as much. But it's not a bad season.
No, and
Victor Lindelof.
I just want to say one last thing. You said he's old school, but he really isn't. He's not like a throwback, because you can't be that. There's no way of doing that, because old school defenders did not slide tackle like Aaron Wan-Bissaka slide tackles. He slide tackles like his legs are snooker cue, and he's like, really measuring exactly where he wants to hit the cue ball, in this case the football. It's not like he's kind of chomping, like smashing through players to put in a slide tackle. He just has this really kind of preternatural timing, and if he ever loses that, he's in real trouble. So let's hope he doesn't. And 6 assists is fantastic. If you'd said Wan-Bissaka's getting 6 assists this season, everyone would have been buzzing about that. And I do think we are at the point where teams are really going to regret just leaving him in space, which they definitely did for a period of this season. It was definitely like the defensive plan of the opposition was worry about all these others, and if he's got the ball, don't worry too much about it, So, but yeah, Victor Lindelof, I mean, a 2 out of 10 season for Vic.
I mean, I think I was writing my notes, so I said 5, but that's probably being generous, isn't it?
Because he's mega generous, I think.
He just feels like a liability, as evidenced in the Europa League final. I mean, Shaw has let the player go, but Lindelof did not pick it up, which is exactly what you do actually with zonal marking, right?
Yeah.
So the player's coming into Lindelof's zone, doesn't spot him until it's too late, and then he's just so powder puff when it comes to anything physical. Isn't he? And that's and then none of his numbers look any good. He doesn't make any tackles. He barely presses the ball, and his blocks and interceptions are fairly average too. So, what does he offer exactly?
As has been pointed out in several places, jockeying. He loves a jockey, Victor Lindelof. But I mean, the physical thing is such a massive problem, and I really dislike talking about players as weak, because it's such a loaded and weird word. I don't know. It just makes you feel, I don't like to say that about another human being, but it's time after time after time he just gets bullied off the ball. And even when he doesn't get bullied off the ball, like against, was it Leicester? Where he didn't get bullied off the ball, but he kind of acted like he thought he did. So he he didn't manage to clear the ball. His passing, the one thing he's really has been quite good at is quick passes to start transition. So he's basically like long ball, but you would more accurately say long passes into space. He's been quite good at that, but his short range passing isn't all that. And there's nothing calming or comforting about his presence on the ball. He's like Rio Ferdinand if Rio Ferdinand wasn't good at any of the things he's good at, you know? I really think it's the number one priority, even above defensive midfielder, is to get us into a situation where Maguire and Lindelof aren't. Because even if you get a good defensive midfielder, there are still set pieces to face in every single game. And he's a liability.
Sure, yeah. So from a similar number of passes, well, Maguire's attempted a few more passes, but from a similar number of attempted passes, they both have a similar pass completion rate, as you'd expect with central defenders, because mostly they're passing it to each other back and forth.
Yeah.
And Maguire's got about 20% more progression, right? So, Maguire is a significantly better progressive passer than Victor Lindelof. And he's a better defender, and he doesn't get bullied off the ball. And, all the problems we talked about with Maguire, he's superior in every dimension to Lindelof, So if we're going to swap one of them out this summer, it will be it will be Lindelof, and it should be Lindelof. And, I think he's proven himself over plenty of years now to be pretty, as you say, weak. Mostly physically. Just get in the gym, lad.
But the thing is,
it would help.
If you got punched by Victor Lindelof, he would absolutely do you in, right? He'll be ripped. Like, they're all ripped. He just doesn't... It's something about body shape. I reckon there's got to be some technical stuff to it, that he's just not putting his body in the right place to hold the weight of strikers off him and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, even though Eric Bailly tried to do an overhead clearance in his own box and missed in the Europa League final, he's still a better centre-back than Victor Lindelof.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, now we can move on from bullying Victor Lindelof on this here podcast. We're talking about Eric Bailly. I mean, I do think, it's all theoretical with Eric Bailly. He's put in hardly any good performances this season because he's played hardly any full games.
Yeah.
Hardly any. 21 total games, but not many of those are starts, and that is essentially his problem. He does not feature enough for United for him to be valuable. And they've given him a new 4-year contract, which, if he doesn't get himself fit, is going to look like a really bad piece of business. It's
Jones-esque, isn't it?
It really does look like it. I mean, because it gets to the point. So if he has another bad injury season next season, Victor Bailly, Eric Bailly, then it's going to be hard to sell him, basically.
Well, it's hard to sell him now.
It's hard to sell him now because everyone will be discounting the fee they would offer based on how much he's likely to perform. So, he's going to have a Luke Shaw-esque return to fitness for him to challenge. And it could well be, if United buy another centre-back, that Bailly will be fourth choice. Maybe even fifth if you're comparing him with Axel Tuanzebe. So it's going to be a challenge for him going forward, and it was a challenge this season. He's done nothing of note. We like him because he's Eric Bailly and he's fun, and in theory he's got a lot of tools. In theory,
yeah, and in practice he's got a lot of tools because we've seen it. We saw that the best part of kind of most consistent part of United season before kind of Christmas time. It was Bailly coming into the team made a huge difference to the kind of overall flow of the team. Now, we are 45 minutes into this show, and if we go through every player in this much detail, I don't think we should. So let's kind of abandon ship now on sort of players in this much detail and go straight for how many marks out of 10 are you giving Harry Maguire?
I'm giving him 7 out of 10 because I don't think it's been a bad season. I know I hammered him for most of the season in every pod, and you may be surprised if you think it's #agenda. But I think lots of the fundamentals look good. He's had a good season. he's got some weaknesses and they're not going to change. He is unfortunately quite slow. But the other parts of his game are pretty good.
I honestly think that's at least 2 out of 10 being added on for the games he's missed at the end of the season, which have been Maguire's best games of the season by miles.
Might be.
And this is absolutely true. His injury was catastrophic for United, and given how terrible he's been quite a lot of the time, that is amazing. That shows you how bad things are. But he's clearly done a lot. He's clearly been doing a lot of work to keep the team together. 7 out of 10 seems just about right to me. I think that's about spot on. And I think Lindelof is 2 out of 10. I think Bailly is 4. Honestly, I don't mean, that's not a joke. I think if you're giving him an out of 10, marks out of 10 for the season 2, because he's been much more of a problem than he's been a help. Luke Shaw, I would give a 9 out of 10 for the season.
I gave him 8.
That's probably better. Let's give him 8 out of 10 for the season. That makes more sense, actually, because there's been a few key moments where, players have got away from him. There's been, goals conceded. I mean, very harsh given how much he's contributed going forward, to question his defensive contributions. But also the first month or two of the season, I mean, we were absolutely desperate to get anyone in to replace him. Play Tellez, play Brandon Williams,
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, the Shaw flank redemption has been the most glorious part of the season.
It has. He's not a perfect player, but he's grown so much.
Yeah.
Very quick mention of, you mentioned 2 of them there. Tellez, I mean, he's done hardly anything.
10 out of 10.
Other than
got signed, turned Luke Shaw into a worldie. 10 out of 10 season from Tellez.
I mean, he's a perfectly good squad player. I don't know what they promised him and whether they'll be, he can't defend for Toffee, can he? We've seen plenty of examples of that, but he loves putting the ball in, and it's got a lovely shape to it.
Yeah, it has. It looks
Alex
good.
Tellez cross does look good. Brandon Williams, so disappointing. He's hardly playing. I mean, 14 games, but a bunch of them are either meanless games or substitute appearances, and I just...
he's getting sold. He's getting sold
he's
this
too
summer.
Talented to not play, but he can't have another season where Axel Tuanzebe plays 50 odd games and he almost never plays. What's the point?
Axel Tuanzebe?
Sorry, Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Oh right, okay.
Plays 50 odd games and Williams hardly plays at all. And then Axel Tuanzebe, who I was thinking one step ahead there. I mean, he's 24 now. He'll be 25 next season. That's too old for him to play 19 games. He's got 1 year left on his contract. So I think a big decision needs to be, he either is going to be Harry Maguire's partner or given a shot at it, or United will sell him.
Yeah.
It may well be the latter.
I think Brandon's going to go this summer. I don't think Tuanzebe will. That's my guess. There you go. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see a Tuanzebe Maguire central defensive partnership given a substantial chance. I'd like to see it given the chance that Victor Lindelof's been given this season for some reason. But anyway.
Yeah. And to round it out for defenders, Dalot on loan at AC Milan all season. I think United will sell him. Jones hasn't played since January 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Teddy had half season on loan at Derby. We'll see with him. He definitely is. And Will Fish, we saw right at the end of the season.
Billy the Fish.
Also, Billy the Fish, or definitely needs a loan if he's going to progress. And then Fosu Mensah, I assume they're going to sell.
They've sold. He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. When did I miss this?
January.
They sold him in January. Yeah. Well, that was a dumb conversation. Yeah.
I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it was. Talking of dumb conversations. Who was the first player? Tuanzebe, and then who was the first player he talked? Oh, Dalot. Phil Jones, that's who I was going to talk about. Phil Jones's career is genuinely quite tragic. Like, he's this figure of fun because his face looks weird, but it's incredibly sad what's happened to Phil Jones. Incredibly sad. His entire career basically become a joke when he, we were talking England and Man United captain totally unironically in his the early stages of his United career. Really, really sad. Anyway,
he has 2 years left on his contract.
Talking of really sad. And talking of really sad, Man United's midfield.
Yes.
The worst area of the pitch I'd say this season. I mean, there are two brilliant players in Man United's midfield, if we're counting Fernandes as a midfielder. Pogba,
Yeah.
Pogba, I think, had a 6 out of 10 season because of the injuries and kind of took him a while to get going. I mean, he had COVID. It was tough. It was really tough. I mean, he was absolutely crucial to almost all the periods of time when United looked good this season. So 6 out of 10 maybe is even a little harsh, but when you take the season as a whole, his kind of overall contribution, especially, and this is harsh for him, but especially given you can't look at him without thinking what he could be, because you see often enough what he could be, that when he's not that, it's a bit upsetting.
Yes, it'd be nice for him to be fit for 50 games next season.
Yeah.
But like that hasn't been the case very often with Pogba. And he may well get sold. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and United are going to have to make a decision about whether he's going to sign a new contract. Because if he doesn't do it now, why not? Or whether they try and sell him. There's not much of a market. So we'll see, but 6 out of 10 seems fair enough. Fernandes, of course, it's
a huge problem for United if they sell Pogba, though. You know, this is like it, because as difficult a season it's been, and like he was a little frustrating right at the back end of the season again. But there's a stretch in the middle of this season where you just look at this going, this guy is the solution to United's midfield. You know, and not just United's midfield, but almost as much as Fernandes, he makes the team make sense. You know, like Fernandes couldn't quite do what he's done without a without a firing Pogba.
Yeah, I mean, I think almost. I mean, I think the challenge is who can or should play alongside him if he plays in central midfield. Right, given that I don't think Ollie is going to change this around to look like more of a 4-3-3 because that would compromise Fernandes. So who plays alongside him? It can't be one of Fred or McTominay. All the worst aspects of Pogba come to the fore then. Not all his fault, but, we know exactly what his faults are. And if he plays wide left as he has, great. He contributed much to the team, but then you have, you're compromising Marcus Rashford, So it feels like it's always a problem. There's this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that you could get with Pogba, but it's very hard to not lose something else as well, and that's always been the challenge.
Or you buy a proper midfielder, like you buy
a proper midfielder.
That's like what we can't play Pogba in a double pivot because he's only got the choice of Fred or McTominay, and McTominay, who I thought was absolutely excellent in the second half of the Europa League final, but Fred who's like awful. I mean, he's had some decent moments this season and a few good games, but they are by such a margin the exception to the rule. Fred's season, 4 out of 10? 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote down 6 here, but that's probably being generous. Yeah, I mean, what Fred, like, the question that's always asked with Fred is, what does he give? What he gives is he presses a lot.
Yeah.
He presses more than anybody else. I mean, it's just a huge amount of pressing actions from Fred and the numbers that go along with that, blocks and interceptions and stuff like that. But it's all let down by the fact that he offers nothing offensively. His passing range is just dreadful. He's Brazilian. He's Brazilian. They come out of the womb knowing how to ping a Hollywood ball, except for Fred. I know that's awful stereotype.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very good stereotype of Brazilians, but he's the least technical Brazilian international we've seen. He amazingly, after the absolute shower he produced for so much of this season, he got called up to the Brazil squad. I was like, what? What have you seen? But that's what he provides. He has got plenty of energy, and he is one of the key triggers for the press, and that's why Ollie likes him. But his contribution in key parts of the game is just dreadful.
Yeah. This is good, isn't it? This is like every episode of the show all at once.
You just didn't need to listen to the other 50 episodes this season. Shall we talk about, well, we can discount, we don't need to say much about Ahmad. 8 games, looks like he's got some talent. hopefully he'll get a few more games next season. Mata, 18, apparently played 18 games, although I think like 3 of those are starts.
Yeah, played a bit of the early in the season, and then, I mean, he's going in the summer. I love him.
Presumably, yeah.
He's still so good on the ball.
I know.
Like, he
can totally play for a top team or a decent team.
Yeah.
Pereira, Palestri, Garner, Hannibal, and Lingard all had loans. Lingard, well, I think he played 2 games before having a loan, so it's like whatever. No ratings or anything to say about any of those. That leaves just 2 left to talk about. Matic. Do you want to say anything about Matic?
No, never again, please.
No. Hopefully never again. He's still got 2 years on his contract. That leaves
Players
Van
seem
der
to
Beek.
like him.
Van der Beek, who just such a weird purchase, but he was involved in a couple of those goals, the sort of top 20 United goals this season, and absolutely lovely touches for some of them. Like there's, and we've seen him before, obviously with Ajax. There's such a good player in there that we saw. I'm not choking up, by the way. I had a tickle in my throat. I was like, I'm broken.
Donny van de Beek should be so good.
I just don't understand it. I mean, there's 0 chance Ollie has any faith in him. I don't know whether you saw it. There's a YouTube compilation of stuff the manager has said to the players, sort of off camera. And there's one of them where he absolutely roasts Van der Beek and then says, and that's why you don't play.
I mean, this is
cruel.
Like, it's disgusting. This stuff makes me... This is why I don't... Like, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and sometimes he says really funny stuff in press conferences, and he likes Seinfeld, and he cares about Man United so insanely passionately, and he wants us to play lovely, exciting football, and he does play the kids, and he's incredible with the supporting the players that play in his A team, but his handling of Donny van der Beek, unless Donny van der Beek is like a waster, which I can't imagine is very likely, moved over to this country in the middle of a pandemic, he's been in Manchester, which was locked down. Like, Manchester was out of lockdown for 2 weeks or something before, it's been absolutely horrendous circumstances. And the manager's treated him like dirt and totally wasted an incredibly valuable asset. And see loads of United fans going, he's such a nothing player, he's rubbish, look, he doesn't take his chances when he's given them. I mean, this is Mourinho mindset. This is like, we're going to destroy your confidence, and then when you don't turn up when we need you, we're going to absolutely hammer you. No, it's what Mourinho did to our best players, Pogba, Rashford, Martial, did it to all of them. And it's really annoying, especially since as a whole, United's season was so compromised by exhaustion. Like,
yes.
At the back end of the season was effectively defined by exhaustion. And turns out if you don't use, I mean, by the way, this kind of applies to Juan Mata too. Like, giving those players more of a role, having the kind of flexibility. And partly this is maybe mitigated by the fact that Solskjaer had no time with these players on the training ground all season. Maybe that's a little mitigation. And he couldn't play the kind of very simple, direct attacking, counter-attacking football that he wanted to play with a Mata or a Van der Beek in the side. But no, really annoying. And so Van der Beek's marks out of 10 for the season is like 4 or 5. But it's like,
who knows what it could have been.
It's got this modifier on it that's like Solskjaer took 3 points off it.
Just 1,468 minutes, or that equates to 16.3 full 90s. I mean, he
is that in all comps?
Appeared in all competitions.
Wow.
He's appeared in 36 games, although only 15 starts, and of course, so many of those substitute appearances.
87th minute.
Yeah, exactly. What's he supposed to do? For those 5 minutes, it's just to wind down some of the clock. 15 starts for a £40 million player. It's pretty shocking. And so, yes, very poor numbers for him. But I do agree with your assessment of Ollie. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes for that to be the case. It seems totally weird. He's too good a player to for this to happen. Anyway, Fernandes. It's phenomenal. He's bonkers, right? He's bonkers when you look at him. but he's bonkers digging into the stats. So he's created 229 shot-creating actions. That's any involvement where he does something that leads to a shot. Across all competitions. It's insane.
That doesn't count his
numbers.
Shots. That's just...
No, that counts his shots.
Oh, okay, right.
No, that doesn't count
No.
his shots.
Yeah.
Doesn't count his shots. 28 goals, 14 of them penalties, but, he scores them all, mostly. 18 assists, which is a great number as well. 165 of his own shots, 29 shot-creating actions, and 36 goal-creating actions. That's direct involvement in a goal, which obviously, is not all of his doing. Someone else has to put it in the onion bag. But it's huge numbers, fantastic. Then you dig into it, right? So his pass completion rate's about 74 and a bit %, right? Which you're like, wow, this is pretty low. Short and medium is up in the high 80s. He's basically completing only 50% of his long passes.
Well, yeah.
Right? I mean, he takes on the most difficult pass
every time
as the default every single time, and never plays the simple pass.
Of all the wonderful things about Bruno Fernandes, watching Bruno Fernandes play every week, twice a week, literally for 90 minutes twice a week, all season for 61 games. When he plays a through ball, he plays it so far in front of the attacker. I've never seen a player who plays the ball into space as far in front of the attacker as he does. Not in a bad way. I'm not talking about his wild swings and misses of crazy attempts at spectacular passes. I'm talking about when he gets it right. He has a real understanding of the space in front of him and the capacity and speed of the players around him. And he forces the attackers to be as attacking as they can possibly be by the place he puts the ball, and it's a joy to watch. I mean, he is also absolutely, totally, and utterly maddening. I mean, when he's bad, he's been...
It can be really bad, yeah.
Yeah, and I know I kind of briefly alluded to this on the show last time, but I do think it's fascinating that the players voted Luke Shaw Player of the Season and not Bruno. Given how many goals, given how many assists he's provided for the very players who voted against him, I do wonder if that's them being like slamming. I'm just going to repeat what I said last week, so I won't bother. But I don't know if I can give him a 9 out of 10 for the season, even though it's mad not to because of the goals and the assists. The goals and the assists are a full, unquestionable 9 out of 10. But the nuance of the performances, the stretch of the final third of the season where he was just awful for weeks, and he kind of got it back right at the kind of death of the season when it started to get real again. But yeah, I
mean that is Ollie. That's on Ollie. He's played 58 of 61 games this season. That's bonkers. It's no way he should do that. No way. It's insane. And that is a compressed season as well.
That includes Carabao nonsense, Europa nonsense,
just shouldn't happen. No. And it's a misuse of the player. And he's going to go and play. I mean, he's played internationals in that time too.
Yeah.
Played 2 in 2021, and I think he played a couple at the back end of the autumn, didn't he? So. And then he's going to play the Euros, and he's basically going to have a 70-game season. It's just, the chances for injury and burnout you'd think are quite high. Although, I guess Leo, Messi, and Ronaldo have done this for the last 10 years, and they never get injured. They're not. Dr. Fuentes, so the reports say, visited those training grounds fairly often. I'm just saying. But some people are saying that.
They had a different psychological demand on them, and teams that just kept the ball. Maybe not so much Cristiano, but 70% of Real Madrid's games were easy, right? Let's say 50% of their games were easy. And United get
in La Farma's Liga.
yeah, but the gap between the top 3 and the rest of the league, not this season, but normally. So anyway, Yeah,
Should we talk about some forwards?
8.5 out of 10. And Bruno obviously gets the midfielder of the year award. Obviously, Luke Shaw, Dean Henderson. Congratulations to Dean Henderson, Luke Shaw, and Bruno Fernandes so far.
yeah. There's a different framing in some of those. Yeah. Forwards. I mean, Dan James is nominally a forward. He's the least technically gifted
Dan James
forward.
is nominally a footballer.
Yeah. The amount of times it bounces off his shin, he's scored 5 goals this season. I was like, he did?
Yeah. No, when he got back into the team, he had a good little flurry, and that's Solskjaer likes him, and he works really hard, and he seems like a lovely lad. And
he's a trigger for the press, and that's why Solskjaer likes him.
I'm sorry for everything. I feel awful slagging off Dan James because he seems like an absolutely lovely lad. But I don't think he's very good at football.
He's not very good. Another player who had a dog poor season was Anthony Martial, who's obviously got a much higher technical ceiling than Luke Shaw. It's been blighted by injury at the back end of it. Quite a significant one. He'll miss the Euros. He'd have probably missed them anyway.
Like he missed it. Like he missed all his shots this season.
Yeah, and then just so bad. I don't know what happened to Martial.
So good last season.
Pre-season, he was pretty. He scored 23 goals last season. He's got 7 this, but he's got fewer performances than that. Where you're like, he was on it this week.
I mean, he started to play quite well in terms of linking up play. Before he got injured, he started the season in really, really, really terrible form, and I do think he was picking up a little bit before he got injured. I mean, obviously, you have to write off anything I say about Martial. Dan James and Martial is classic Gordon Ramsay shouting at one of them and putting your arm around the other one. It's just full unfair. My relative treatment of Dan James and Martial, the bias is strong. Although I wish Dan James nothing but personal happiness and success. Genuinely, that sounded sarcastic, but it wasn't at all. Martial's had an absolute
Why are you stabbing his voodoo doll in the eye there,
No,
Paul? Why are you doing
I love
that?
the kid. He seems lovely. Martial has had a terrible season. Let's not talk about what's to come because this podcast is too long already and we just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've no idea with Martial. I mean, if it was any other club, they'd probably try and ship him on. But he's Joel Glazer's favourite son.
Is he?
Apparently.
Well, I think Solskjaer loves him as well.
There's something there if he would stay fit, but there wasn't anything there this season.
But the fitness was just a bonus, wasn't it, for the anti-Martial hater bingo?
It's been interesting because United have scored a decent amount of goals this season, but I don't think any of United's forwards you'd say there's an unequivocal sort of thumbs up perfect season. I mean, for different reasons. Edison Cavani has had a great second half of the season. And he didn't have a good first half of the season. That's because he didn't arrive until October and then he wasn't fit. But really great second half of the season. And that, that offers a lot of promise. I mean, he is
promising striker Edinson Cavani.
Yeah, no, for next season. I mean, in the general terms, a lot of promise for United. And you just kind of wish he was 5 years younger, don't you? It's a 7 out of 10 sort of season from Cavani, but it's been 9 out of 10 for the last couple of months or so. Yeah,
you wish he was 5 years younger, except when you suddenly realise there's zero chance he'd beat United if he was 5 years. Although Woodward was desperate to sign him in 2015 era. So anyway,
I'm sure he was desperate to sign everyone in the 2015
No,
era.
Cavani in particular. He's a long time Woodward's dreamy project. But anyway, I mean, 7 out of 10 is exactly right overall for the season because he's been so good since he's got such a clear leadership role. And, I think he's benefited Mason Greenwood tremendously. I don't think it's a coincidence that their good form has come in tandem. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Marcus Rashford. Off the pitch, player of the season by a mile. I mean, this has been the year of Marcus Rashford, ending with him talking to Barack Obama this week. Barack Obama and the leader of the free world having a chat. This is, I mean, the kid is a hero. He's 23 years old. He talked about being 23 on that interview, and Obama talked about him being 23. She's 23. He's a child. 23 is so young. And because he's been around a long time, we don't think about it. But
true. True.
He's
No. I mean, I think that's right. Like, let's talk about some of his numbers. £20 million raised, millions of food packages delivered. He's getting kids reading books. He's twice made a government do a U-turn.
no, Edison Cavani hasn't made any governments do a U-turn this season, as far as I'm aware. Anthony Martial definitely hasn't made any governments do a U-turn. And it's probably an unreasonable expectation. How many goals is that worth? Like, in terms of player of the season, it's got to be at least 10 goals, right? 5 per
Well,
U-turn.
I mean, is player of the season only on sporting merit? I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, and that's all sort of context for saying then on the pitch, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, hasn't it? I mean, he contributed to some of those. We're going to talk about some of the goals, but some of United's best goals. You think, wow, he's
unreal,
a huge
man.
talent, yeah. And some of the frustrating things have been when he misses what seem like presentable chances for an average forward, and definitely especially given the context of some of the absolute bangers he scores, and his contribution to the team in an attacking sense beyond just goals. So there's everything there for a really top class player, and it hasn't really been a really top class season. He's still got 21 goals and 13 assists, which is pretty good for a wide player. He's spent most of the season wide, and but we know there's more to come. And he said it himself after the Villarreal game. He's had shoulder and foot injuries, and I don't think he was trying to make a big deal out of that. But he's played for a lot of the season with injuries that in another season he might have had more of a rest.
So why has the manager done this to him? Because you asked Marcus Rashford to run through a brick wall for you, and he's on your side. He's doing it, right? Marcus Rashford is a die for the cause player. We've seen, I don't know. I am choking up. By the way, this is I legitimately am. But like the racial abuse this season, we can't. It's a weird thing to talk about in a season review, but it's been such a dominant part of the story of the season in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
he talked about the racial abuse he received after the Europa League game, and you think, like, what kind of world are we living in where people treat each other like that? It's just, I mean, we know this is the world. Like, I'm not a doe-eyed optimist in real life. I just play one on a podcast. But the awful truth that he's carrying that, and you know how much Man United means to him. Like, when United wrote the United editorial team wrote an article in support of him after that, and he just said, you don't know how much this means to me. And you imagine how much that means to a person who grew up idolizing Man United, and now he's like, he's the team's hero in lots of ways. Certainly off the pitch, he represents the team in an unbelievable way. And I do think it's a bit of a failure of duty of care on the part of the staff as a whole, not just Solskjaer, but the staff as a whole, that he isn't being physically better looked after. Now, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it makes me a little bit uncomfortable that it's evident that he's playing through substantial amounts of pain, and I don't know why.
Yes.
Because there are options.
The beginning of the season, if Cavani had been there, like he could have been, from June onwards, he would have played fewer games at the beginning of the season, maybe. And towards the end of the season, if Martial had been fit or Ollie trusted Dan James more, he'd have played less. And you're absolutely right. He's been managed poorly, much like Bruno. And fingers crossed. I mean, Rashford's had injuries this season. Bruno, I don't think, has. Maguire the season before played through a lot of the season with injections as well. So it's a pattern. If one of them gets a really serious injury and United's season is completely curtailed, Ollie will be like, woe is us, really bad luck. And we won't be able to make a direct causal link when Bruno does his ACL between that and playing 60 games. But we can probably think it was a contributing factor, and I think that's the real worry. And especially with explosive players like Marcus Rashford, the muscle injuries are very common. And the more you play, the more you're in the red zone. And he must have played a lot of this season in the red zone.
Well,
must have.
He did, didn't he? I mean, he was broken. He was actually injured. And, the Cavani thing is a factor for sure. But at the back end of the season, he's playing Rashford on the right to squeeze him into the starting 11 and leaving Greenwood out. It was just like, these...
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense when Greenwood was actually in good form. So we talk about Greenwood.
Yeah.
Interesting campaign. He didn't progress from last season, but last season was so sort of explosive and surprising, not in terms of his talent, but his sort of impact at such a young age. And that hasn't been the case for most of this season. But, towards the back end, his form really took a big tick up and he was scoring goals again. Promises a lot. I don't know. Is he going to get into the Euro squad? He was in the larger squad, wasn't he? I don't really care. Maybe he gets a summer off.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You said he didn't progress, and I know exactly what you mean, and you're sort of right, except that this was an absolutely crucial season for his progress, and the thing that he did was he had his first adversity and he conquered it. And that's you've got to do that on the way as a footballer. All the ones that make it to the top have, the ones that, you remember, like, we talk about it all the time, that Cristiano Ronaldo's first game against Bolton Wanderers, it was almost a complete package. He looked completely ready for the big time, and then basically had 2 seasons of being really like flaky, and loads of United fans wanted him sold, and it was all that kind of stuff. And then he exploded, because you need those periods of adjustment, and he's getting doubled or tripled up on every time he's got the ball, because he's perceived as such a threat by opposition.
And he is. They're right to perceive him as that threat. Yeah, I mean, and I think he it's all set up for him having an outstanding season next season. It'll be interesting, depending on the kind of business United do, where he plays. Is he going to play second fiddle to Cavani, or they basically share the workload up front? Will he play off the right? That might not happen if United sign Jadon Sancho. So there's all ifs and buts. But we'll see whether he can break through in that scenario, which you imagine he would, because his technical ceiling is better than anyone's.
Yeah.
He's got everything. Some of the balls he's played in for other, Cavani's diving header against Spurs, I think it was. But first time ball from Mason, absolutely brilliant. His ability to beat players, score with either foot. He's going to be an outstanding player. And, I think you're right to say this will be one of those seasons which was, important in his development. Still, it's a sort of 6 out of 10 season, isn't it? But, points at
7. Because he's young. He's so young that the kind of... And the second half of the season's been so good that I'm going 7, because it's been... The good stuff has been better than the bad stuff was bad, if you know what I mean.
All right, and we saw 4 games from Anthony Elanga. Not much to say there. Look, I mean, I like him. Good goal. And he's got a lot about him. Shola Shoretire, we saw about the same. We'll see. He'll probably get a loan next season, I imagine. And Tahith Chong had 2 loans. Don't know, they gave him a new contract. So I'm not sure about that one. Nope. I'm not sure about that one. We'll see.
Yeah, we will, but not on the pitch, because he's never going to play for Man United again. Probably. I don't think. So I actually think this is the hardest one to pick, because maybe the goalkeeper, but that's hard because no one, like United's player of the year for almost every season until Solskjaer took over, there was no one who actually deserved it, so it went to the least non-deserving. Goalkeeper, defender and midfielder is easy to pick. I think this is really difficult. I think it's really difficult between Cavani and Rashford, because Rashford's overall contribution, literally scored more goals than Edinson Cavani.
Only just.
And Cavani, the thing is that it feels like Cavani turned the season around in some way, sort of took the season bit by the scruff of the neck, and he scored the goal. Spoiler warning: scored the goal of the season. I mean, right? Let's not mess about here, kids. Is there a lot of suspense about what the goal of the season is?
The whole segment I had planned next, which was Yeah, I mean, I suspect it is Cavani, and that's not recency bias. I think it's just he's probably been more important to the team. But
Rashford
I think,
dug us out of trouble time after time after time for 2/3 of the season, though. So it not being recency bias, it's like, isn't it? Are we sure it's not recency bias?
Yeah, no, look, 34 goals and assists, goal contributions.
Yeah.
Is a good number for Marcus Rashford. That's a good number for any forward.
So it's really close, right, between the two of them. We can agree on this. Can we please have the decider be who made more government U-turns happen?
Didn't the Uruguay government put out a statement in support of Edson
Yeah,
Cavani?
that's true. Actually, he did get some government, but that's worse, right? That makes him a Fed. Like that means he's on the side of the system.
Almost caused an international incident there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to split them because there's a lot of caveats with both of them. I mean, look, if Edison had been signed in June, I know I've repeated this like 6 times this podcast, and he'd been fit.
Well, if Marcus had been,
he'd actually had a had a pre-season.
Yeah, if Marcus had been given 3 months off last summer,
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it's Cavani.
You want to toss a coin?
Maybe it's Cavani. I don't want it to be because I think Marcus Rashford this season has officially become my favourite Man United player ever. Talk about recency bias, but I think it's true. So there's a it's difficult. I mean, Rashford's had some absolute stinkers, and Cavani really hasn't had too many stinkers, to be fair.
No.
Right,
there can be games where he barely touches the ball.
Cavani's the new shiny toy. Marcus Rashford is actually Man United's player of the season, and everything else is, Marcus Rashford did better stuff this season than any Man United player did. But yeah, all
right. So that's an hour and 20 minutes on all the players this season and United season. Coach of the season,
Shaw or Fernandes then?
Well, I think it's Fernandes because. For this reason, if Luke Shaw was taken out of the team and Alex Telles had played all season, United would probably have scored a few fewer and conceded a few more. A few goals either way. You cannot take 28 goals and 18 assists out of the team and finish anywhere. I mean, United would have finished outside of the top 4.
So, player of the season, Bruno Fernandes. Runner-up, Luke Shaw. Managers/podcasters player of the season, Marcus Rashford. Right. And managers player of the season, Scott McTominay, obviously. Lifetime emeritus. Yeah. All right, goal of the season.
Oh, can we just talk? I mean, because you've already given it away.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Spoiler.
Genuinely, not necessarily.
So let's talk. I mean, United did a top 20 and didn't include Cavani's goal against Fulham.
It hadn't happened yet.
It hadn't happened yet. Timing, lads, timing. But a few of them, I picked out a few that I really enjoyed. I mean, no particular order. There's the goal that United scored against Newcastle at St James's Park.
That goal is an all-timer. Every single
goal.
From the moment that Pogba puts in the tackle that starts the counter-attack just outside the edge of his box and somehow doesn't give away a free kick leading to disastrous consequences. Yep. Well done, Paul. From that moment, every single Man United player that touches the ball achieves
absolutely perfect.
Yeah, they achieve a sort of state of Manchester United transcendentness where they suddenly morph into, Giggs, Scholes, Keane. It's perfect. The little flick from Van der Beek.
Around the corner pass. A beautiful pass from Van der Beek. And then, of course, it's shown a lot if you see just, short clips, just the no-look pass from Rashford and then the finish from Bruno.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to describe. What do you call it? Is it a chip? Is it a place shot into the top corner from a ridiculous angle? But of course, it's the full move, which is so good.
It's a Rocket League goal, that is. People that play Rocket League will know what it's like to score into that far corner from that angle, where you just just a line where there's nothing between you and that space. There's no intervention by the opposition that can possibly help at that point. Perfect.
So, yeah, magnificent goal. And then Rashford's turn and strike against Paris Saint-Germain, just because he makes Kimpembe, who's in the France squad, and just look ridiculous.
Really good MUTV commentary where they are talking about how he'd scored the winner there just as he scores that goal, and then he loves it here. Also, he is a prince among men, and it is called the Parc des Princes, so it's very appropriate.
Yes. And then there's his goal against Brighton. You discount this one from the goal of the season reckoning because it takes a big deflection.
It's a lovely goal, though, isn't it?
It's a lovely goal. I mean, it turns how many defenders? 2 or 3 defenders, right, then left, and then it's high into the net, although with a bit of a deflection.
But he makes the space for himself before he even gets into the box by skinning a Brighton player, right? And then just kind of keeps the ball as multiple of them try and come for him.
The amount of players that Rashford has skinned this season and made look silly is quite high.
Most nutmegs in world football this season. By the way, that should have been the decider between the two of them.
Yeah. Who's got the most megs?
Yeah.
Did he call them though? It doesn't count unless it's
You're
called.
obsessed with this.
Yeah. It's playground rules. Everyone knows this. Yeah. Bruno's. I've written here Bruno's half volley. I don't know. Again, probably doing it an injustice. The one he smashes from Luke Shaw. It's not a corner, is it? It's Luke Shaw's cross.
Yeah.
And chips to the edge of the area, and Bruno absolutely smashes it into the top of the net against Istanbul when we actually managed to beat a really shitty side. Good goal.
Not as good as
Pogba's curler versus West Ham, where he hits it first time. So Bruno gets the assist. It's one of those ones where it's 0.2 of an assist, really. It's a simple side pass across, and Pogba hits it first time with the instep and curls it into the bottom corner.
I kind of agree with you about the assist, but when I was watching it today, I was struck by the precision of the weight of the passing. Like, it could not. This is a bit like the thing that I was saying about the way he hits the ball into space for players in front of them. Other players would have knocked it over to Pogba, but it wouldn't quite have had the same absolutely perfect spin and momentum that Pogba could come onto it first time in that way. So there was a bit of skill in the simple sideways pass from Bruno. It had an elegance to it.
Yes, he used the space. He didn't play it to the man.
Yeah.
Basically saying, here you go.
Yes, smash
into the top corner.
Which he did.
Similar sort of goal. Lovely left-footed curler from Cavani against Everton in the League Cup.
So much power. There's so much power on the shot. Like, just he really meant it, didn't he? So angry with the ball. But in terms of
that's the sort of start of his renaissance, wasn't it?
In terms of long ranges, those two are good. The next one takes the biscuit just because he cut inside, beat 2 players, and then smashed it in from the outside of the box.
Pogba's curler against Fulham at Craven Cottage.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, he controls it absolutely perfectly. It's like it's a bit of a messy start to this. It's it's a high ball and he just takes it down and then turns inside, beats 2 players and curls it in with his left foot.
Now that's an assist.
Seen very often.
That's an assist that doesn't deserve to be an assist, right there.
Shanking one up into the air.
Yeah. Brilliant. Those a fantastic goal.
Next one having the list is Bruno's.
Good goosebumps. Got the good goosebumps.
Curler against Everton. Of course, that's that doesn't mean anything. It's the wrong corner. It's Beckham-esque, isn't it? It's the way he's whipped it across the keeper into the top corner. God, he's got so many beautiful goals this season, Bruno. It's not just the number; it's the very high quality of them as well.
Yeah, we haven't even got the one against West Brom, have we? We have. Sorry, spoiler warning. That is to come. This one, we talked a lot about at the time about how it kept being compared with the Cantona Sunderland goal, and that was really weird. And it was just because of where he hit it from and the fact that he stood still afterwards, which I do think was a Cantona tribute in a little way in that game. But there is a little touch of chip to the whip it's a whip chip. You know, there's a sort of hybrid of a whip and a chip. Like it's not a pure Beckham absolute like, oh, if this keeps going, it's going to come back the other way and go into the other goal still at pace. He does take a little bit of the pace off the ball in a way that Beckham doesn't, with that slight kind of underneath the ball quality.
Nice clip of the whip chip.
Yeah.
Said the cat in the hat. About Bruno. Then there's the goal you referenced earlier. Nice Greenwood finish, which is, it's a much better finish than you kind of looks simple, doesn't it? But it's the 60-yard pass, which makes it just. It doesn't even have the room really to hit the pass with that power, and it just evades the defender. Kind of makes the defender look a bit silly because he goes to head it and completely misses it.
There are people who watch loads of football and back their own opinions who don't think Marcus Rashford is incredibly good.
Yes, there are people like that. It's a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
There are probably others of equal. I didn't even in this list, I didn't even put the Cavani diving header. I love a diving header as well. Greenwood first time pass. Then there's the one you just mentioned, Bruno's. It's like only marks off for this one because he catches it a bit on the top of the foot.
Yeah, there's a little bit of calf.
It's a bit shinny.
There's a bit calf involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
But United's greatest ever goal was a shinner, so it's fine.
This is true. But yeah, it's ridiculous to be able to get over the ball and score the volley like that. So some outstanding goals. But the winner is.
it is, isn't it? And the long tradition of NQAT giving offside goals goal of the season, dating all the way back to Mkhitaryan's scorpion kick.
He touched it. It's not offside. He touched it.
He doesn't think he touched it, and he's Bruno Fernandes.
To bring back the cricket reference, there's loads of players who don't think they touched it when they actually fed the ball.
That's true. That's true.
They make the long trudge off to the pavilion, shaking their heads.
And then Justin Langer says, "Why didn't you review it?" And Aaron Finch never plays Test cricket again.
That's it. Came off his laces, something like that.
Definitely didn't come off his laces, did it? It was the bottom of his foot that he was pointing at it. So maybe it brushed a stud. But anyway, who cares? Because the first game with supporters in it all season long, the first game since the shutdown, because United never played in front of supporters during the period where there were just a couple of thousand in the ground at various points around Christmas time. Good government activities there. The quality of that finish. Some of these goals are absolutely, I genuinely got goosebumps talking about them. So months after the fact, they're so good, some of these goals, but they're goals you've seen before. This is a goal you've barely ever seen from that distance with that power, that precision. When Rooney scored from his own half, or even when Beckham scored from his own half, there's an element of kind of it looks a bit lucky, even though it's unbelievably brilliant as well. This one wasn't quite from his own half, but nothing about it looked lucky. It looked like, I'm Edinson Cavani. This is the ball. There's the keeper. There's the goal. Thank you very much.
Yes, and one of Bruno's 18 assists this season was that.
He didn't even touch it.
He robbed. Who was in
David
goal?
De Gea.
Hendo, David De Gea. He robbed David De Gea of an assist.
Well, except it.
It said to have been offside.
Yeah. But then we would all have been robbed of maybe the single best moment of the season. There's been some great moments this season. The 9-0 was amazing. The win over Liverpool in the FA Cup was amazing. The fact that
beat City twice,
literally scored a goal after full time against Brighton to win the game 3-2.
Changing the rules of football.
So comeback after comeback after comeback after comeback, penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. Just a fantastic roller coaster of a weird season. But of all the moments, that goal in front of those fans by that player, just perfect.
Yes, no, just perfect. United had a lot of bad moments at Old Trafford this season, which fans didn't see, including 6 defeats. It's a very average home record. But when they were back, they came back for that, which was perfect.
Lovely. All right. That'll do, right? That's the season. I guess we should at least touch on. Shall we not bother? There'll be transfers this summer. Don't listen. If you want my professional opinion, ladies and gentlemen, don't do it to yourselves. Just
avoid it all.
Yeah, just don't do it to yourself. Just enjoy the. This is one of those times that they say like enjoy the journey, not the destination. With transfer rumours, it's the opposite. Just ignore the journey altogether until the destination arrives. I promise you will have a nicer, more peaceful, happier summer if you don't follow Man United transfer rumours and work out whether they're coming from someone who's reliable or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't follow any of the rumours. I mean, we go into this summer knowing exactly what we need to improve the squad. Ollie said last week he wants 2 or 3 in. I'd say it should be 3. And if they are not, boring, broken record alert, a central defender, a defensive midfielder and a right-sided attacker, it's absolutely negligent on behalf of the club.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I mean, listen, we're going to do Patreon stuff in a minute. So, Patreon backers, sorry for saying goodbye before we say goodbye. We'll give you guys, no doubt, another one of these at the end of the show. But everyone that's listened all year, and especially the people who have taken the time to say that this show actually means something to them, as people probably have been able to intuit / I've probably said it about 7 times. It's been a bit of a tricky season to kind of keep going. And I've definitely had the problem at the end of the season of just not feeling. I mean, Ed, as I always say, like I love talking to you about football, but kind of dedicating every Sunday night to doing this has been a bit of a slog at various points this season. But
well, if you'd only stop talking so much, we'd get through it much quicker.
Whenever people, whenever I get like that, it's funny how it happens. There was one moment where I was like, how am I going to tell him? How am I going to tell him I can't do this anymore? And then we got an incredibly nice message on Instagram that kind of was like, okay, well, that's it. Just got to keep doing it forever. So thanks so much. And even in the last week, we've had loads of people reaching out to say that they appreciate the show. And we just couldn't appreciate that more.
No, it's really nice to hear that people like it. I think we may have ended our experiment with selling our soul to the advertising devil. So for Patreon backers coming next, you are literally keeping the show alive. I mean, it's as much, and in fact more, I'd say. Your monetary expression of love for the show that matters than the actual cash itself, which. No,
speak for yourself, buddy. Yes.
Well, normally while we record, I have a can of beer,
yeah.
So it's paying for the beer intake, and my liver transplant when it's required in a few years' time. But no, it's really important that we hear good stuff from you. It keeps us going.
Yeah.
In what was an incredibly long season. With a lot of it, us saying the same stuff over and over again.
That's the thing.
Trying to find ways to say something new, which can be hard when it's the same stuff again and again for 61 games.
Yeah, analysing Solskjaer's plan A has a limited shelf life. Let's hope there's at least a slight difference to it for the first couple of months of next season to give us a little bit fresh impetus. We're going to take a break over the summer. I think Ed in particular, I'll do some, but Ed in particular is going to do some interviews with various people, which will drop as kind of specials into the feed to keep stuff going, keep the content rolling. But in terms of proper shows, I think we are done until the end of pre-season, where we'll do a season preview.
You don't want to do in-depth tactical analysis of United's pre-season tour in Malta, then, Paul?
No, thank you. But thanks to all the listeners, Patreon backers, stay tuned. Everyone else, see you in August. Take care.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.